Hela. Today I'll be discussing the alternative pathway of the complement activation system. The activation of the alternative pathway does not require antibody or immune complexes, and it is activated by any foreign surfaces. This could be fungal, bacterial, polysaccharides, particles, and biomaterial surfaces. So complement activation through the alternative pathway occurs spontaneously but at a low rate. So we are going to have spontaneous hydrolysis of, of the internal diester group of C3, which occurs in the fluid phase, generating a C3 and water. So the hydrolyzed C3 can bind and activate factor B and cleave another C3 molecule into a C3 and into a C3A and a C3B. So the alternative C3 convertase, C3B, the factor B and a small b is formed. So you're going to have a complex which has a C3B and the factor B and a small b. After it has been cleaved, you're going to have B and a small b is formed. In the absence of a surface to support binding of C3B, lead to complex activation occurs. So in the presence of a surface, covalent binding of C3B to hydroxyl or amine groups on the surface may occur through the carbonyl group in the 3B, the ester binding site. So attachment of 3B to a surface favors binding of factor B and factor D to C3B. So you're going to have factor D is going to cleave factor B into factor BA and B small b. And the alternative C3 convertase, we are going to have C3B, B, and the small b being formed again. So this attachment of C3 convertase is able to generate more C3B. So this is going to, as a result, we are going to have a positive amplification loop. So it's going like a loop. Okay, so we are going to have another molecule, proparidine. So the importance of proparidine in alternative pathway, it acts to stabilize the C3 convertase. In my previous video, we talked about regulation of the complement activation system. So in this case, proparidine is going to act as a stabilizer to stabilize C3 convertase. So the clustering of C3B on the surface allows the formation of the alternative C5 convertase. So we are going to have C3B, B, C3B, and then C5 can be cleaved. So the assembly of the TCC now follows as the classical pathway. So now we are going now to have now, moving from now the alternative pathway, now we're going to have the classical pathway. And then now the cascade of formation is going to have in the complement system. We can later discuss the classical pathway in details.